How you guys doing?
Hi. Hello.
Nice to be here with you.
Matt, it's so nice to be here with you. We've talked to each other for years and years and years.
Yes, we have.
And never met in person, and here's our first time. You're great.
Yay. And now we're here in front of all these wonderful people.
Yes, thanks for coming.
So we're just going to chat a little bit about music and things related to music because it's so much more, right? So everyone knows her extensive list of credits. Yeah, right. So, and then that's usually how someone would find out about you. They go, this record sounds amazing. Who's involved? Oh, Sylvia Massy. Oh, this record also sounds amazing. Who's involved? Sylvia Massy. And you start connecting the dots and going, this lady, man, all her records sound amazing. Let me look into her. And then you become a fan, right? But I want to get into a little bit of kind of where that started and then that trajectory a little bit. So I'm just curious at what age you were, do you remember the moment where you noticed music production? Like there was something other than the people playing and the song.
Yeah. Well, there was a specific moment when I was listening as a kid to some of my favorite records, which were at the time like Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin and all that. But there was this one album by Yes, the band Yes, and it was the Fragile record. Great prog record. Wow. But I was listening, was it South Side of the Sky, I think was the name of the song? I can't remember. But it was all John Anderson singing, but he was singing to himself, and there was multiples of John Anderson singing, and I was like, wait a minute, how is that happening? And then I realized that there was a way to layer vocals on top of each other, so one person could sing a whole choir, and that was the first time I realized that there was something about building the recording that made it come together.
And then, so you understood, okay, this is not humanly possible what I'm hearing, what's going on. And then at what point did you get, somebody made the decision I'm going to record this one time and then on another track and another track and another track, and kind of understand the role of the producer?
Well, I started realizing that that there was a creativeness to recording right away, and I think I was inspired with radio. In that radio shows, you could have music and a story and a narrator and actors, and so I got all my neighbor kids together, and I was the producer of a radio show that I recorded with 2 cassette decks, and I had a turntable with some silent movie music that I don't know why my mother had that in her collection, but it was old instrumental upright piano kind of sound. And so I gave scripts to all the kids in the neighborhood, and it was about Tarzan and the fight with the apes.
Of course.
And I was Tarzan. And so but that was where I got to, okay, this is your part, go. And I'd hit the record button and record this thing and then stop it. And then, okay, your turn. Okay, read, go. And then, this is the part we're going to scream and jump around like monkeys. Okay, boom. And that was my first production. And it was, I'm sure a lot of kids like you and I have all had those moments where we discover how we can make our own shows and our own music. Wow. It's such freedom, isn't it?
How old were you at that point?
I think it was about 8.
And so as a kid, were you an outgoing kid, or were you shy, or were you...
I was definitely a tomboy. But, and then I would boss, I had a little brother, no older brothers, no older sisters, so I was always telling my little brother what to do. So I had no problem. And that's where in the studio, I tell people what to do all day. And I got no problem with that.
That's where I was going, because obviously even at a young age you were comfortable directing people because you had a vision, of this Tarzan production that you're doing.
Yeah.
And then, but you're comfortable putting it all together and going, you do that and do that. And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting for a kid, you know. Just a couple cassette recorders back and forth, you know. So that was a learning experience for sure.
And obviously, that particular production didn't sell millions of records. However, is there just a through line from that first thing that you were doing to, you know, some of these massive records that you've done?
You know, I have to say that there is a through line. When I first started out, they didn't have recording schools. They didn't have programs in universities for recording. It was broadcast only. So I took broadcast. You too? Oh, okay. Well, you know, and you can learn the same skills. And in fact, you can learn even more skills, I think, from broadcasting. So what I started doing was working on radio commercials, basically. So that was my first audio job, was working at a production house, putting together radio commercials. And I learned a lot. It was a multi-track, you know, 4 tracks. We had 4 tracks. Wow. And I was editing like crazy. I was editing breaths out of speech and doing all that broadcast type of work. But it wasn't until I had the opportunity to go into a music studio that I realized the difference. Because the production room is always going to have an 8-track or a 4-track back in my day. But music recording is unlimited, you know. It really is. I'm sure, I mean, everything is unlimited these days. But that was a big change. The change between where I thought I was and then where I was able to go was a huge, huge span.
And can you talk about when you're listening and you're going, that was the one, whether you're listening to a take or you're getting a sound or you're doing a mix and you go, okay, it's got it. Can you quantify the thing?
Yeah. In my mind, at the beginning of a project, I have several things that I want to mark off the list. So when I'm looking for a performance, it has to have a certain thing that I'm looking for. And it might be on a list in my head, like, okay, if I get a performance, let's say we're working on a verse, because I'm not going to get the whole song entirely, but I can get a verse. And so I'm going to make sure that I get all those things checked off in my mind list with that verse, and then I move on. But it has to be, these decisions have to be made quickly and confidently for your artist to trust you. So, like, I'm not going to go, I don't know. You know, I'm going to say, no, do it again. Do it again. Okay, do it again, but this time, and I'm going to give them direction, like stand up straight, chin down. You know, if you're going to hit that high note, make sure your chin's down. Don't do this. You know, I'll give them direction. And sometimes I'll give them things to distract them because they're thinking of how awful their throat feels today. All the singers are always thinking, what's the matter with my instrument?
Babies.
Oh, I know, right? So I'll give them things to distract them. Like I might have them stand on one foot. I'm going to say, it doesn't matter. This is just a little warm up. Stand on one foot and give me that verse again. And they're like, okay. And then they do it, and then suddenly they're out of their head. They're worried about falling down. So they're not thinking about their throat anymore. So anyway, lots of little tricks like that. I try to give them distractions to get them out of their head.
And how much of your job, and it probably depends on the particular artist, how much of it is the musical, the sound, all the traditional stuff that people would think, and how much of it is the psychology, making someone comfortable, getting them where they need to be, where you can get that performance?
Boy, it's almost a 50% thing. And you could have the best skills in the world in the studio as far as recording and getting great sounds. very important, yes. But you also have to be a people person. You have to relate with that artist. You have to be able to communicate with them, particularly about parts of their music. Another thing I would recommend for anybody getting into it is learn to memorize a song in one sitting. You hear a song for the first time, you should be able to understand how many verses, when the bridge comes in, is there a breakdown, is there an intro and outro. You should be able to actually map out that song with one listen. And that's one thing that I do really well, is when I'm starting with a new artist and we're listening to a new song, I can talk specifically about the lyric at the end of the second verse, going into the pre-chorus. You need to think about that and maybe repeat this part, at the end of the song. You need an intro. I need you to write this outro, and I can give them all this information in one listen. And so anyone, you want to improve your skills, I think that's one simple thing that you can do, is just learn to memorize.
And I think it's so important too, because especially when you're working with the artist, if you get the song title wrong, or you don't know, it feels like you don't care or you don't get it, and then they don't feel safe, and then da 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 da.
Yeah, and having the artist feel safe is a good thing to work on. I mean, there was a long time in LA when I started in LA. I was working at recording studios like Larrabee, and I would work with some big artists like Prince, and we would want the studio to look a certain way, so we would dress it up like, They eventually bought all new furniture just for Prince because he was there for so long. But I want to make them feel comfortable. But there's other artists I don't want to feel comfortable, and on purpose. Like, for instance, Tool. I'll take when I worked with Tool, I saw this band play live several times, many times, hundreds of times, and then we were in the studio, and the singer would scream this part, and I'm thinking to myself, shit, on stage, it's blood curdling. This does not sound like that. And so after a couple times, I said, no, we're not going to keep doing this. We can't keep doing this because you're going to trash your voice, and then we got nothing for days. So I just told him to stop, and he was very angry. He was like, I want to do it again. I'm like, no. Take a break. Go run around the block 5 times. He was pissed. He did it. And he came in, and I turned on the mic and recorded him in the most blood-curdling, angry scream on that record. And it's Crawl Away, I think it's the song, where it's this blood-curdling scream, and that was him being really pissed because I didn't make him comfortable. I wasn't going to, be all, No, you're going to do it, but you're going to do it my way.
So at that point, was he your little brother for that moment? You kind of
I was picking on him.
Yeah. Can you talk about the difference between a technically perfect sound or a technically perfect performance versus just a great performance or a great...
Well, as a producer in the studio, I'm always looking for the feel over technically perfect. I think everybody's looking for that too, because these days you can fix technically imperfect, but you ain't gonna, get feel from a plug-in, right? Not yet, anyway. But it's important.
How has technology's changed so much? And the thing back when I was growing up was it needs to sound pro, dude. And pro you could only get by going to certain places, paying to go into a studio. Now you can sound pro in a lot of ways through technology. Doesn't mean it's great. So I'm curious how that change in technology has affected your workflow and how you utilize it and how much you do or don't utilize it.
Well, I when I started, I was using analog, tape. Started, like I said, I was started with a 4-track and cassette tapes, but in Larrabee, when I was working with Tool and Prince and Johnny Cash, we were using 24-track analog Studers, and everything was great. But when we got into digital recording, everything shifted. So you didn't have to plan for limited tracks. Now you got all the tracks you're going to need. Big changes, and being able to save every take. That's wow. That can be a problem. But yeah, big changes, and it's not an exclusive club anymore. It used to be very exclusive. There was only a few studios in each town, and they were expensive and they were booked and hard to get into. So everyone now, anyone can get that quality on their laptop. So yes, things have changed quite a bit, and there's a lot more music than there ever was before. A lot more choices, and there's great things about that, and there's bad things about that, but it's a real renaissance. Yeah.
Can you talk about making a decision, like working within a limitation, whether it's a number of tracks or a time or a budget, and just the ability to make the decision?
Oh, wow. You're asking about decision making?
Yeah, well, because you're talking about unlimited tracks, but if
right.
you
so
have
you have to make
it's
that
like
decision.
We're getting,
okay.
I'm deleting
right.
that. I'm going
right.
to record over that.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's my job. As a producer, I'm kind of given the responsibility, and I'll take it. You know, if you give me the I'll go as far as you want me to go. Though, if you really are a great producer yourself, and you've recorded all the tracks, and you just need someone to kind of tidy it up, I can be that person. If you need me to write all the string arrangements, I can be that person. I can play drums, but I'm not going to play your drums. We'll get you.
I'll play the drums. Too.
But yeah.
So we're going to shift to, is everyone familiar with Sylvia's microphone collection and the posts? And I'm like,
yeah, I have a very large collection, 3,500 mics.
Woo! So how did that start? And then the second part of that for me is going to be, do you have other old things in your house? Because I love old things.
Oh God, I got something to tell you about.
So okay,
right.
go.
Well,
go
the
for
mics came about because my husband Chris and I have been writing a book on microphones. I know a lot about microphones. I've been doing this job for 30 years. You know, I know a lot about microphones, I thought. But when I went to this old fellow's museum in Wisconsin and saw his collection, he had historic mics from the 1870s. Wow. And the technology of how microphones developed, I had no idea. I thought I knew a lot about microphones. There's so much I didn't know about microphones. So we had to start the book over. So we're still writing the book. But that was why we got the microphone collection. I was researching. I met the old guy and his collection. And eventually we bought the collection. I don't know. We're out of our minds, but we bought it.
It happens. Just happened. And so then when I see your microphone collection, I go, okay, obviously she's a producer, she's an audiophile, and a bit of a historian. But I was curious, she must like old things.
Oh,
Are there
God.
old
okay,
things
now
in your house?
Okay, I'm going to tell you. I sleep in an ancient Chinese bed, and it's giant. It's a giant antique. It's got 2 rooms in it. It was built like 1,000 years ago. It's nuts, and it's all carved. It actually belongs to my husband, and he lets me sleep in it. But yeah, it's outrageous, and apparently it was for an emperor or something, and I don't even know how he got it. I think he snuck it out of China because none of those things are supposed to be existing anymore. But for some reason, this one was saved, and it's outrageous. And I think it was for an emperor, and he would have his concubines waiting in the outer room. and then the bed is in the back, and so yeah, I sleep.
Keep going. I'll just let you go ahead. Just keep talking.
It's nuts. It's outrageous. Anyway, yes, my house is full of really weird old things.
And what is it about them that you not the bed? We'll stop talking about the bed. But what is it about them though that you love about them?
Well, there's so many things about it. It's like fascination about the quality of the build from history, like how people made things in the past compared to how they make them today. And especially with the mics, just how the development went through, the story of the development of the microphone. I have to just tell you, microphones, the first microphones, the first one was made, captured the vibrations from a tiny thimble full of acid. That was the first mic. Second mic is carbon, and this carbon, the way they did it was they built a wooden box and they suspended a burnt stick in that, and the stick would vibrate between two poles and create a charge, and you apply a voltage to that, 6 volts, and you get a mic signal. And I've used this mic. It's from 1878. And I've used this mic. I used it on some punk rock vocals the other day.
Nice.
It was great. But anyway, that stuff is fascinating to me. I'm telling you it, if it's fascinating to just think about it in my mind. I don't know if it's fascinating to anyone else, but I like it.
No, it is. It is amazing. So we're here at the Xvive booth, and I know you had a chance to check out the T9s, and I was just curious.
Yes, T9s. So Xvive makes in-ear monitors that are comfortable and sound great, far superior to the other ones. I did some comparisons, and they were comfortable. They didn't fall out. They sounded the high quality of the sound that I would expect is there. And compared to several other models of popular in-ears, I thought they were excellent. And now I'm not a drummer, so I'm not using them in my work. And typically with mixing, I don't use them. But the quality of those in-ears are good enough that I could mix with them. So anyway,
Yeah.
I'm sold.
You guys all familiar with the T9s? Yeah, they're awesome.
Okay.
And then you were just checking out the PX system.
Ba-doo. Boop. This is quite unique because when I work with drummers, headphone mix is always an issue. So here is a very simple way, and I suppose on stage this is just a godsend.
Especially if you don't have a monitor guy and you're maybe in a band like in between where it's a small road crew and you can't fix that. And you might have a 45-minute gig and you don't get a chance in your set to even tell somebody to change it.
So the way this works, from my understanding, and you're going to have to help me if I get it wrong.
Sure.
But there's 3 channels, 3 mono channels. And now you can blend this any way you want. If you want a stereo, let's say you're giving the drummer a stereo mix in his in-ears, then you can have the stereo mix on, and you flip these inner switches so that it's left and right. And then for the drummer, the click track on the 3rd channel.
Marimba number 2.
Oh
go,
my
go,
God.
go, go.
And this is like that would make all the difference in the world. I expect that on stage too, it would really make a difference. So anyway, this is, my first look at it. I haven't seen this yet, but I know that this is a useful tool, a very useful tool, and bravo for Xvive for making this.
Really, and it's sturdy too. I like old things because they're heavy, right?
Yeah.
And that's got some weight, right? Yeah. Good. Because
Nice.
it's cool.
And I guess it goes to a breakout cable, so it goes into XLRs, but it uses a Ethernet, Cat5.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fantastic.
So a couple short questions. So if you could only have one microphone, you can only keep one. You don't need to be able to use it. So it's not like Swiss Army knife microphone. Just like the microphone, you're like, I really want that in my life. I can't let that go.
Because of its beauty, not necessarily because of
like
its
for whatever
useful.
reason, but it doesn't
All
have
right.
to be sonically.
Well, I can't just do one. So There's the mic that I would use, the beautiful mic that I want to just put on display and just admire, and that would be the Western Electric 10A, and it's cast bronze, and it's about that tall, and it's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. And it has the amp built into the bass. It's from 1932, I believe.
So would that be used like for an on-stage show, like
It
a
would be
vaudeville
for an
kind of thing?
like a stage show or a speech, something important, because it's very ornate and quite beautiful. But it was actually a very early condenser microphone and had the amplifier part of it in the bass. And so that's the most beautiful. Now, if we're talking about the mic that I can't live without in my daily work, that one right there. This is an SM58.
Cost you about $100.
$100. I could record records with it. I have recorded records with just this. I mean, everything. I could say, you might not get the sparkle on the cymbals, but you're going to get all the girth. You're going to get aggression. You're going to get percussiveness of drums. It's a good mic, dynamic mic. I highly recommend it.
Yeah. So, do you sing at all? So, if you could sing for any band, and it doesn't have to be something that's like in your range or your wheelhouse or whatever, but like you could front the Dave Clark 5, or you could, you could sing for U2 or whatever. Like,
oh my God! Well, I would be terrified in any of those situations. I'm a shy singer. I sing only in my room with my microphone. But when I work with them, when I'm doing mixes in particular, if I hear a part, I'm like, why did they put harmonies here? I'll just put them down, and I blend my vocal in so I'm not like showing off. But I'll put vocals into stuff, but it's always done without people looking. I'm very shy as far as that goes. So it'd be hard to choose. Now, you did ask me one question about if there was an artist I would work with, who would it be? An artist that's not around anymore that I could work with? Well, I would have to say Bowie, probably. I did get to meet Bowie. I got to meet him. He actually used one of my microphones. I still have it. Nobody touches it. It's got Bowie DNA on it. Yeah. I could clone Bowie later if I want, so that mic stays in a case. But yeah, I think it would be Bowie. Now, singing in front of any band, I would be terrified. I'm sorry. I think.
But let's just say you wouldn't. Like the gig would go amazing and you'd crush it. And like Jimmy Page, you'd be like, you're the best, you're better than Robert, whatever. So like anything.
Way down inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that wasn't getting good. Okay. Wow. So
it could be a punk band.
Oh.
Could be Pink Floyd, could be, anything.
Wow. Reggae. It would be reggae. I think I would want to sing songs from probably Third World or Peter Tosh or something like that.
Okay. Awesome.
Burning Spear. Ooh. Yeah. Okay.
Lots
of reverb.
I'm envisioning that. All right, so I think we're pretty good on time. I think maybe it will take like 2 questions, or is that cool? Yeah. So do we have 2 people that want to...
Any questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Cameron.
Woo. Hi there. Yeah, I'm Cameron. Wonderful to see you guys. It's awesome. Big hero inspiration, all that stuff. You're just badass, and I really appreciate it, and keeping me curious and all that good stuff. I just want to know what new shit you're working on or listening to, all that stuff.
These days I'm working with an artist named Fiacra. He's Irish, and his songs are outrageously good. So I'm very happy with what's going on now. And I'm doing a lot of art these days. So I started doing a NAMM poster a couple years ago, maybe 2019. I did my first NAMM poster. and I'm trying to do it every year now. So I have one for this year, and it's really good, I think. So if anyone wants one, I'd be glad to sign it for you after our little thing here. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. I got to see it.
Yeah.
One more question. Yes, sir. The man with the hat and the beard and the glasses and the coffee.
Hey, first of
Joe.
all, yeah, thank you. I want to say you're a real trailblazing engineer. I teach at a high school in New Orleans, and we all look up to your work. When is your book coming out? Can we expect it?
All right. Well, that darn microphone book is almost done, but it's been almost done for a year. I'm so embarrassed about that. It's a great book, but it may be another year before it comes out. We hope it's done and in the stores ASAP. Yeah. Thanks for asking.
Awesome. How many is everyone here a working musician, engineer, producer, etc.? So I just want to ask you one last question. Is that intersection between money and art? Because we all know some talented people that are afraid to ask for money, and they say, I just do it for the art, bro, and then they end up having to get a full-time job because they're not actually getting paid. And then there's that kind of implication from the other musicians who are not successful, that if you want to get paid, you're not in it for the right reasons, bro. So can you talk about that and how you either navigate that now or how you did once your career started happening?
Yeah. Well, in particular, this artist Fiacra that I'm working with doesn't have a lot of money. But we have an investor that's willing to put money behind him. And he's willing to put in a lot of money. However, money gives this investor the right to give his production ideas to the project. Okay. Well, that already is putting a stick in the mud. And you know, Fiacra is going to let whatever has to happen. He will do the things that need to be done to get the money. So that's going to change his music. So music that is written for money, it's a little different. The music for art is, I think, the best. And that's what attracted me to this Fiacra project, because it's really pure art. It's really not made for mass consumption. It's going to have a nice sliver of people that just love it to death. And I appreciate that. But I have to put my mindset, you know, when it's time, I have to be versatile and be able to direct the artist in a more commercial way. If you want to make money and want to continue to do this, then you have to have the chorus come at a certain time. You have to have this kind of melody thing happening. You have to have a certain kind of lyrical presentation. So there's so much to think about if you're going for that commercial thing. But boy, I love the freedom of just doing art.
Awesome. Let's give Sylvia a round of applause and thank you for being here. And so you're going to be over there and signing your poster? I think